See, and this is what happened before.
All right, we're already live, so I got to explain to our audience.
I have StreamYard, but that's it. It's just a blank white page.
Huh. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah,
well, why don't you take Sam and I down? You guys go do the intro.
We're already live.
Okay.
So people have been watching.
Everybody.
There is no intro. We got to the point where we went live.
Hey everybody, it's the off night. There's Jason up there, and there's Mark Sweetman, your host.
Thank you.
It's the off night. I'm Andy.
Thank you. All right, a little bit unorthodox opening today because we're trying to get Sam on his iPad to get through.
This is called the cold opening. This is what Saturday Night Live used to do all the time.
It's absolutely frigid. It's an ice cube. That's
how
how cold this open is.
Exactly. And we do the cold opening. This is where we start with a single idea ahead of time, and then we go, "Hey, it's SNL," but no, we'll say, "Hey, it's the off night." So,
all right. Well, let's go right to Susan's poem then, and
there we go.
Get that out of the way. I'm going to take everybody down but me. You'll still be able to hear me. I think you'll still be heard. So all your comments, I have to live with this woman. Please keep them nice. All right.
Himself. There we go.
All right. Are you going to do the poem or am I reading it? Oh, here comes my bride to read look, I got an extra chair right here. So.
I gotta climb over.
No, I'm going over here. This is the extra chair for me. You read your poem.
Hey, do I look older?
Hi, happy birthday.
Susan's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Everybody wants to look this good at 62.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And just to get, now, wait a minute, put us together here. I am only 63. So this is what she's going to look like in a year, So.
Yeah.
No, she's got much better genetics than I do. So.
Or they just are put in better places.
Yeah, that could be.
Okay, I like our brick wall. We're only a little shimmering.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll get it someday.
Okay, here's your poem on June 19th, 2023. Here we go. Juneteenth in the year 1865. General Granger brought good word to Texas when he arrived. Took 2.5 years to let Texas slaves know they are free. With government that slow, sure sounds a bit shady. More gun deaths in America, and storms took lives too. In Europe, the news says get vaccinated against the flu. Pat Sajak retires. Has he got some guts? NBA championship won by the Denver Nuggets. Hockey season is done. No more fights on the ice. Stanley Cup has been won by the Vegas Golden Knights.
Wow.
And that's
very cool.
On my birthday.
Happy birthday, Susan.
Happy 31st.
I can collect Social Security now if I want. And there's more senior discount places, but some are so stingy.
Welcome to the Bonanza. Welcome to the Senior Bonanza.
Yeah.
the senior discount.
Discounts as far as the eye can see. Yes.
I got an old workmate of mine when I turned 55 sent me a list of all the places that had discounts that started at 55.
McDonald's coffee.
Yeah, McDonald's coffee was one of them. La Quinta Inns had a discount at 55. I'm trying to think of all the rest of them. A lot of grocery stores in the South that don't have any where I live, but a lot of grocery stores had senior days. But now I'm 62. I don't care about the 55 discounts. I'm eligible at 62 for a bunch of them now. So. And then all of them kick in at 65. I'll get the Amtrak one is the one I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that Amtrak discount at 65.
When does that kick in?
65.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same
my
day
brother said that there was a.
Now wait a minute. Can you imagine? We're talking about senior discounts. Can you imagine the audience we're losing right now?
Yes. Well, I was going to say, my brother says there's a thing you get from the National Park Society.
Hey, Cass.
Oh, the national parks. Yeah, I think that's
so it's like a free pass to all the
I'm
national
trying to get on
parks.
StreamYard on this, and I can't.
Yeah.
Now, Metro Parks.
It's like a Zoom.
Hold on. This is one of the best live things we've had. Cassandra is there with Sam, helping him get on the.
Oh
stage.
my God.
This
This
is
one, see this here.
I
I
haven't.
want to
Can we
copy and
see it?
paste it. See, and one,
I haven't. Who can we see? Cassandra?
but I don't get copy. I get
Tell
just paste.
Cassie you want to get that on the Safari.
Tell her it's my birthday.
We've done your birthday.
Mark bought Tiger tickets and then forgot.
Yeah, I forgot that I had a show tonight. So somebody's sitting in my
Safari would be fine if I can get on it. Yeah. Okay.
All right, this is exciting.
Oh yeah.
This is exciting.
Can Sam get on the air or not? Wait
Whoa,
and find out.
whoa! Here we go.
New
Let's see what this looks like. I'm gonna take the.
Hi, everybody.
So I
My
missed
daughter did
Cassandra.
this for me in 3 seconds.
Wow.
Yay! We gotta buy her a cake or something.
Let's see what this looks like.
So I missed Cassandra.
He's there, but I don't hear him. Do you have him muted? No audio.
I don't have him muted. So get Cassandra back because we can't hear you.
Can you hear us? Turn your regular phone off.
If he's on the computer, I found that there was a place on the computer that shuts off the sound. So
I think
check
he's
the
on the
computer.
iPad is what he's trying to connect with.
Well, listen, while he's doing that,
Froze up,
Sam,
Mark.
Yeah.
All right, let me get here.
All right.
What I was saying is that there is a free pass for national parks when you hit 62.
Oh, well,
62.
have
I
to
thought
look
it was
into that.
65. Yay.
I think it's 62. My brother says it's
National
62.
Park.
Sam, your apartment is huge. I mean, for New
Well,
York.
Not just
Here,
his apartment.
In Detroit, that's a closet. But anyway,
Joking.
In Ann Arbor, that's an apartment. Okay,
oh,
Oh my God, that's wonderful.
we had an apartment. What did we pay for the apartment on Vinewood?
On Vinewood?
Yeah.
$1.75.
We paid $180 a month for this apartment in Detroit. It was huge.
But we kept getting our cars
Yeah, our
broken
car
into.
kept getting broken into, so that didn't.
Yeah,
We
and you
paid-
had to
we
get
paid for
the
that huge apartment.
you had to get the chalk mark cleaned off the front of the building.
Yeah.
And
all you needed, all you needed was
Kids
a
got
stick
out of
shift.
school and they had
If
nothing
you had a
better to
stick
do
shift,
than to
put your
break
car
into our car.
totally left
I hate
alone.
when everybody's talking at once.
Oh, dear.
Sorry.
So yeah, you don't need a pass to get into the national parks. You just need to go in some of the back entrances that I usually hit like in the middle of the night and there's no one there. Like if I'm dropping a package off or something, you just go
Right.
back in there with your you just
All right,
want
now
to get
what
in there.
national park do you drop packages off at?
Were you
I'm
the one
not
that was
gonna say
attacked by
that
the
on the
cocaine
air,
bear?
Mark.
Was that your
I mean-
cocaine bear? Okay.
Cocaine Bear is my dancer name in the 80s.
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know why
Got it.
Sam, you look great.
Sam looks great. We just
That's
can't
the
hear
best
him.
picture. That's the
Goddamn.
best picture we've ever seen.
Take the iPad, throw it against the wall as hard as you
No.
can.
Don't do that.
Well, that's Cassandra.
There we go.
Your daughters
Chances
are here,
are-
by the way.
There could be that you want to turn the volume up about halfway because that also affects the sensitivity of the microphone. And by the way, I know, Mark, you were mentioning that we're losing a lot of the younger audience by talking about retirement ages and all that. I'm just simply to say, if you're younger,
Now,
please
see how I'm
watch the
looking
show.
off there?
Sam! Yes!
Yeah. The
Hey,
camera's
There you
can
go.
hear you.
Hey, there he is.
Now it's
Got
upside
it.
down.
There you go.
The camera's here.
Wow.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hi.
we can hear you. We can see you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank goodness.
Thank you,
Nice.
Cassandra.
Awesome.
Yes. thank you,
Ladies and
Cassandra. Very-
gentlemen,
Sam Greenfield.
Essie Greenfield, thank you very much.
This is your left ear.
Ow!
This is your
Oh.
right ear.
She yanked it out of my head.
And you just
Oh, did you have them in the wrong ears?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
At our age, does
That's
it really
right.
matter?
Exactly.
Ladies,
How's that, everybody?
look,
That sounds
you look
great.
Like you look
It's
like the
amazing.
Jewish
I
Captain
literally
Pike.
went like this. I said, Cass, can you help me with this? Just give it to me. Here.
You know, Sam, in my act, I do a line about that, about how, we didn't really want kids in our old age, but we had to because the technology kept changing. We had to have
Hey, speak
we
for
had to have
yourself.
younger people in our house all the time.
I have a
All
friend
kinds of
who's
stuff.
I have a friend who's my age, and a year older actually, and he bought a brand new car. He'd had the same car for 13 years, and he bought a new car. And I said, "How is it?" He goes, It has got more technical shit, and he's got ADHD. So,
Oh my God, no.
but he said, I willed myself to study it, and so he drives it now. Yes, he killed a couple of people, but
We're growing more all the time.
I was
That's
talking to somebody at the ale house, one of the younger customers there last night,
50?
and I was talking about how my dad was an Oldsmobile man. And what that meant was when he got done after 4 or 5 years, he took his Oldsmobile back to the delership where he bought it.
Got another Olds.
Probably saw the same salesman, turned it in, and bought another Oldsmobile. Right? And then the kid says to me, as soon as you said Oldsmobile, that explained everything to me. You didn't have to. Oldsmobile covered it. I go, why? Is that what you think of an Oldsmobile? He goes, no, I've just never heard of an Oldsmobile before.
You see that's when you
Oh,
just
wow.
smile at them, and then you just punch them in the chest as hard as you possibly can.
What was behind the decision to drop the Olds and keep the Buick?
Money.
The
There was
Buick.
too much-
The Buick is very popular in China, and that was the biggest
Yes.
reason right there.
And there's
The-
too much
the Buick
duplication in the
when,
GM product line.
When Babe Ruth went to Japan and China for his, that big
Tour.
baseball ambassadorship tour, he rode around in a convertible Buick, which at the time was the better convertible than the Cadillac. Otherwise, they probably would have had a Cadillac. So that's why Buick became a big car in Japan and China. And so because China's such a big market, emerging market, they didn't want to lose the Buick nameplate. So that's why
It's funny. I read somewhere, you guys would know this more than me because you're from Car City, but I read that the Edsel was not that bad a car. That
It wasn't.
That what
It
the
wasn't.
problem was, there were too many mid-sized cars.
Yeah. And it was ugly. It had that it was called
I
a horse.
love that design.
I know,
love
but it was called a horse collar, and people
I
started
know.
referring to it as the urinal.
I think it looks.
And once you see it that way,
I say
yeah.
it looks like a vagina, and the hell with it.
And I don't think the fact that Henry Ford was very dismissive of Edsel Ford in his position in the company might have had a lot to do with it.
And yet,
Well-
when his son died, it destroyed him.
yes.
Yeah. Well, but
Yeah, well,
And he
spent a
treated
lot
him like shit. He treated him like shit.
He did
But
treat
when
him like
he
shit.
He did.
But don't
when
think that
he
didn't have
died-
something that. If you think about marketing a car, you're going to name a car the Edsel. After you've mistreated your son for so long publicly,
This is-
you know what I mean?
This is exactly the sort of dynamite programming to attract young people to the podcast. And
Here,
This will attract sport
I mean-
people.
how about this? How about this? I hope you little bastards OD on kaopectate. How's
So
that?
we got our
Andy, I would love to talk about sports.
Let me say something real quick here. When you know what I hate? I hate when somebody who's young goes, "Well, that was before my time." Yeah, so was the Bible, bitch. Pick up a book and read something, okay?
Exactly,
That's before the Declaration of Independence was before your time. Lincoln was before your time. Enough. That's before because you don't fucking read. That's all. You don't read. That's all.
I was reading an article in the New York Times about I think it was 10 or 11 things that Gen Xers and millennials, or Gen Zers and millennials hate about baby boomers. And one of them is that we call them rather than text.
yeah,
It just drives them nuts.
drives them nuts.
Right here, baby. You want to know how many times I've heard this? Do you have it? Can you text, Dad? Do you know how to text? Why don't you do that in that controlled anger voice?
Well, one of the reasons they said they don't like it is they go, we're in meetings all day long. I go, well, that might be part of the problem right there.
Yeah, you're in meetings. Yeah, for scoring X. Who are you bullshitting?
If
You're in meetings. Yeah,
you're in
really.
meetings.
What the manager at McDonald's wants to know who stole the mac cheese? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you've got a high powered job. Yeah, stop it. Stop
Be
it.
nice to her, Sam. She's going to choose your rest home. She's going to be in charge of your long-term care
That's
facility.
that's not what's happening to me. I'm 75. I figure if everything goes perfectly, I got 18 years left. Okay. 18 years. Along about 15 years, I'm going to start telling everybody I know, oh, you don't know how to do that? Oh, well, go fuck yourself. Everywhere. Everywhere. Everyone. Okay.
Go fuck yourself years of Sam.
Exactly.
It'll be the go fuck yourself decade.
By the way, can we talk about something I think is important about comedy, which might drag those little weasels back in?
It's the off night for It's the off night for comics. Let's talk.
Okay, Brad Upton is a very funny comic.
He's very
and
funny.
Works very clean.
He does.
Yeah.
Jim Gaffigan is a very funny comic and works clean.
Yes. He does.
On the other end of that are three comics who are very successful, and none of them they don't work dirty. They don't work like sexually dirty, but their material bothers me so much I can't watch them now. And that's Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, and Bill Burr. And it's for three very specific reasons. With Chappelle, it's the making fun of transgenders.
Okay.
These people need support and love. They don't need a goon like him to validate the idea of fucking over them. Okay? Because you're also talking about kids. And he just takes pot shot after pot shot after pot shot. That's number one. Number two, Bill Burr, who said something that was so amazingly dumb, I couldn't believe it was Bill Burr. He said, you know, I would never hit my wife, but I understand why a guy would want to.
Yeah, that's an old Sam Kinison line.
Yeah, I know. But when Kinison did it, you knew he was kidding.
Yeah,
I don't condone. I don't condone domestic violence, but I understand it.
That was
he never said. And plus, it was non-genderized. He said, "I don't condone domestic violence." But
what did Chris Rock do?
I'll get to it in a second. I'll get to it. But the problem with what Burr said is he's under the assumption that there are no goons in his audience who won't, in fact, clock their wives and say, "Well, Burr validated it. Burr said it was okay."
Yeah.
To say they're kind of a rough crowd.
And I worked in a tough room. The hat check girl's name was Dominic.
Yeah, it's a rough place to work. You know, I'm telling you.
And now Chris Rock, in addition to being physically unable to stop calling women bitches, said, "You know what we need? We need more bullies. We need bullies." And I thought, you know, you have kids. You know, kids kill themselves over being bullied. Kids commit suicide over being bullied. And you know, I'm the antichrist of politically correct. But for him not to know that, you know, and these guys are all smart enough to tackle new material.
Well, you know, there was a kid in Michigan. I don't mean to interrupt, but he was 17 years old. He was 17 years old, and someone online talked him into sending a couple of dick pics to whomever. And the guy turned around, and he's believe it or not, he really was from Nigeria. He's from Lagos, Nigeria, saying, "I've got all your material. I'm going to pass all this shit out. I'm going to give it to your mom and dad. Send me $1,000 or else." He could only come up with 300, and then he killed himself. This was back in May of this year.
I remember that.
There was a girl
17-year-old kid.
There was a girl in New York who talked a guy into killing himself online.
I heard about that.
She's now doing time.
Good.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Yes. They got the Nigerian, but you know, that don't bring anybody back.
No.
No.
And for Chris Rock to be that tone deaf, or if he's not tone deaf, then he's just a prick. It amazes me. You know, it's not like there's not an ocean of material out there for these guys to do.
Well, yeah, those guys. I mean, they can do anything they want.
Well, you know, and Bill Burr does a thing about like women he disagrees with. You know, if they're too politically correct. He goes, "You've seen these hairy leg chicks. That's your definition of a woman you disagree with? She doesn't shave her legs, really?"
Oh, God.
You know, what part of Alabama did you grow up in? Jesus.
Boston.
And I knew him when he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And his excuse is, "Well, I can do all these things. My wife is black."
Yeah.
Well, you know, maybe she hates you too. I mean, you know, Christ.
Yeah. No, I you know, the thing is, I grew up in a family of women who were hillbillies, And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean the inbred and the trope that one thinks of. Everyone graduated high school. Several of them wanted to go to college, but unfortunately were not allowed to. My mom was a case of that because her stepfather said women did not go to college. So instead, she was literally married off at 18, pregnant at 18 and a half. And but my other cousin, and I have several, she shot one of her husbands, almost shot another. So these were women who absolutely knew how to use firearms, and you did not want to try and slap them around, because had you done that, you would have been taking your life in your hands.
You know what that reminds me of? Did you ever see the movie The Krays, Krays?
Yes, great movie.
How strong those women were.
Oh yeah.
When they went to take her son out of the tubercular ward, and the doctor said, "No, you can't." And the big, tall, strong just knocked the shit out of him and said, you think you know what you'll do, and you don't know the off of it, all right? But there's never been a performance like Tom Hardy did of Reginald Cray. Oh my God! Oh my movie. God! Oh great man! Movie. Oh wow!
But these were women though from a certain generation. I mean, Sam, we all remember. We're all ancient. We remember these women from the World War II into the 50s and into the 60s, when they weren't going back to the nice, barefoot, pregnant, live in the kitchen shit. That wasn't on the agenda for them.
No, not at all. Rosie the Riveter changed all that.
Yeah, they built the weapons of war. They buried husbands.
Some of them were still alive. I just want to say.
Yeah, my one cousin that I have in Ipsy, and when I get it rolling right, I do it as a routine, and it works really well. Her fourth husband, she'd shot her third one. Her fourth one was abusive prick. She waited for him to die of cancer, and she had him cremated. She kept his ashes in a box on top of the fireplace. I always dug the irony on that. And then when she died, in her will, it's like Bob's ashes are to be placed in my casket at my feet and between my legs. The only place he ever did me any good.
Oh, wow.
And I personally lowered those ashes right down her ruby red. She had these Wizard of Oz slippers that she demanded to be buried in.
God bless her.
And I'm like, Bob, till death do you part. Oh, no. She got you right where she wants you forever and ever and ever.
Did you guys watch 6 Feet Under?
Yes. Great show.
There was an episode. It's about funeral directors, family of funeral. Oh. And there was an episode where this woman's husband was killed by an outboard motor blade that fell off, zoomed off its moorings and just didn't chop his head off, but he wished it had. Okay. Yeah. And he's laying in his casket, and his wife, who's played by this woman, Harriet Sampson, who played Fraser's agent.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And she says, Can you open the casket so I can just say goodbye to him? And the husband and the funeral director goes, absolutely. And she opens it up and she goes, thank you. I'm so fucking glad you're dead, you piece of shit. I hope you hurt like hell. I'm sorry I couldn't pour alcohol on your fucking gash wound, you cocksucker. And she goes, that's all.
Thank you. Well, it's important that we say goodbye.
It is.
My mother, when she was within a few weeks of her demise, gathered us together and informed us what services she wanted and whatnot. And you remember, she was only 54 at this point. She said she lived like a hillbilly on Saturday night her whole life, and she never expected to be old. But we asked what she wanted done with her ashes, and she said, pour them on your father's truck. I would like to haunt it.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's
hey, Jason, you weren't at the show last night when the announcement was made, but Chili's son Thaddeus, you remember him from the Unclub, right? He passed away. He passed away Sunday morning.
What? He was young.
He had that heart condition that we had been raising money for.
You just reminded me of something. Leah Farrow had a son, Thaddeus, who died.
Oh my God!
It's the same name.
Yeah, Chili Chalice's son, Thaddeus Chalice. He passed away yesterday.
Very sad.
That is sad.
He was in his 40s, had a 6 and a 3-year-old son, 2 boys, 6 and 3.
Doubly sad.
Yeah, very sad.
By the way, I was watching, because it was Father's Day, I was watching. Well, I watch it every Sunday. CBS Sunday Morning.
Yeah.
And one of the segments was about there's a new way of taking care of the dead, which is mulch.
Oh, I've heard about that.
And there's a woman
Yeah.
who had that done to her husband, and she has used he's in the soil, and she feels like this. He loved gardening, and she feels like this really. And all the time they're talking about the mulching. All the time they're talking about just laying you out and letting God take its course. I'm looking over at Barbara, and she goes,
No, they take they take your they take, I guess it's ashes because they still cremate you,
Yes,
and then they mix it in with
No,
some,
they don't. No, they don't cremate you.
Oh, they don't. Oh, they just bury you with the.
They don't bury you. They don't bury you.
Is it one of those Fargo type?
They lay you out and wait for nature to take its course.
Right.
Oh,
yeah,
I like that
but
too.
there's also a cemetery.
Kind of puts the kibosh on hiking. Let me just say that. It really,
yeah.
Honey,
Well,
step over that.
Yeah, it would be perfect for the Irish because our funerals last 4 days anyway. So,
By the way, if any young people are listening to this, one day you will die too. So kiss my ass.
we should just
That's
rebrand the show as the Youth Chasers.
Youth Chaser was a name that was used on Police Beat. I had nothing to do with it at the time. No one was convicted.
I thought it was Woody Allen's nickname.
Oh, that's funny too. Although his wife is in her 50s now.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh,
Woody Allen's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, soon
He's that old now?
Yeah, listen,
She's
they've
in
been
her
married.
50s.
They've been married for like 29 years. It's time to let it go. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Well, but what about the Roman Polanski thing? And I know it's a little bit different but I've
the
always
woman
held
who
a
he
grudge.
did it to said, "Let it go."
Yeah.
I
Yes,
know,
but
no,
let
all
me
right,
say-
wait a minute. If they let Roman Polanski in, they got to elect Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose to the Hall of Fame. That's
Not
where I
Pete
draw the
Rose.
line.
Not Pete Rose. No,
Shoeless Joe,
no,
not Pete
sir.
Rose.
No, sir. Not
Yeah,
no.
No,
And
Pete
I'll
Rose
tell you
can
why.
never be in the Hall of Fame.
No. Shoeless Joe Jackson was totally innocent. Pete
Yeah.
Rose, and this is the thing that bothers me, and people try to deny this. Pete Rose was a gambling addict. And if you don't think he bet against his own team, if you don't think he let pitchers on his own team when he was managing stay in too long, you're naive. He absolutely did. I'll promise you. He was a gambling addict.
Mark,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, say, Mark, you remember when we had the Lindell AC? When we had who were the guys who were involved in the back room there? Alex Karras,
Paul Hornig.
Well, Alex Karras, Paul Horning, Denny McClain was part of that gang. You're talking about gamblers?
Yeah, in the back of the Lindell AC, because gambling, it doesn't matter if it's on your team or not. If you're playing high stakes poker, no.
Well,
because you wind up owing someone a lot of money. And by the way, when Paul Hornig played and when Alex Karras, they weren't making the money they make now. So you could wind up owing someone $100,000, and that was 2 years' salary.
That was serious money. Yeah.
And so you would throw a game to relieve your debt. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the discussions we're having, Sam, the discussions we're having in Detroit is we have 6 players now. 3 have been released on the Lions, and 3 have been suspended.
Yes.
Yes. And
for what?
The release, they were going to be released. They were going to be released whether they were gambling or not. And the 3 that we're going to say, we're going to say just because they're better players.
Mark, when you say released, you mean from jail?
No, from the team.
No, from the team.
Okay.
In other words, the Lions don't have to deal with their suspension. They've been cut, yeah. But anyway,
any of them essential players?
The discussion. Well, the one player not the ones that got cut. The ones that got cut would have been cut anyway. But the biggest player is Williams, who was the wide receiver for Alabama, who was our first pick a year ago.
Ooh, yeah.
And he's going to miss the first 6 games this season. But the discussion in town has been great. We get to go into the stadium and see all these, this is the official gambling site of the Lions. This is the official gambling site of the NFL. This is the official gambling. They have the NFL has bought into all these gambling sites, right? And then they're gonna spank the players for gambling. I just think that's been the big discussion. Is why are we?
You do realize that these gambling apps are aimed at black people. They are aimed at poor people specifically.
Absolutely.
They are algorithmically designed to allow these people to win a little bit, and then it trips and it goes the other way, and it takes every fucking dollar.
It's like the numbers. It's like playing the numbers.
It is exactly, and it is aimed at poor people. It is aimed at very
absolutely. It's like the crack cocaine of gambling.
Yes, because and I've dealt with gambling addicts. I've dealt with other people with other drug problems, and they tell me, and I believe them, gambling is the hardest fucking addiction to kick. Because there's something in the brain.
It's not just it's that, but it's also it's right in front of you
all the time.
It's right. In other words, if you're betting on one football team, okay, and you're betting with a friend and you lose, it's a whole week before you can bet again. But if there's a gambling site, there's 32 games. There's games on Thursdays. There's games on Sundays. There's games on Monday. It never. Oh, by the way, this is a little off subject, but I just wanted to tell. I've never told you this. My favorite Detroit Lion, other than Barry Sanders, is Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane.
Okay.
Bobby Lane, yeah.
And Bobby Lane was a huge partier. And the line I heard about Bobby Lane is the greatest line I've ever heard. He said, he's the only football player who ever threw up in the huddle.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
We have to have your take on this because we spoke about it a little bit last week. Pat Cooper passed away. And again, we had to explain to someone who Pat Cooper was. And I know he wasn't the biggest comedian ever, but I liked Pat Cooper.
Oh, no. Listen, Pat Cooper. Pat Cooper was two things. He was a brilliant comedian, and he was his own worst enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
I told you the story about him and Sinatra's mother, didn't I?
Yeah. Sinatra's mom.
Yeah. I'm very sorry that I did that to you. And
He's talking about how he was opening for Stephen Eady, and they'd send someone over with some notes on his set. And he's like, tell them to go fuck themselves. Fuck you. I don't have to open for you fucking people any fucking more. You can go headline the TikTok fucking lounge for all I fucking had.
And the same thing with Lola Falana.
Yes.
I mean, he said, who the hell does this bitch think she is? And yet when he was around his wife, and she didn't henpeck him, but he was the most loving, attentive, sweet guy. But when I met him, it was when I was, living in Vegas. And he comes up to me. I think I told you this, but he comes up to me. He goes, "You screwed us." That's his opening words to me. I had never met him.
Never met him before.
Said, no, and I go, "Hi, I'm Sam. It's a pleasure." And he goes, "Do you know what I'm talking about?" I said, "How would I know? How would I know?" He goes, I was going to be hired by this radio station that I worked at. Okay, they were going to pay me $1 million. I said, "Stop now." I said, this station is in the 43rd largest market. The 43rd largest market. The entire budget for the entire station is not $1 million. They would have to hire salesmen to buy a new ass to work it off to pay you. Okay. Yeah. There is no way that they were going to pay you that.
No.
Well, what about? I said, no. I said, there's no what about, Pat. The most you would make, I said, I'm making more than anybody else here. Okay. And I'm making just short of 100K. There is no way you're going to make that kind of money. And they're looking to cut me. Yeah. Okay. Because of what I make. $1 million? No. Now, if you could bring them a syndication deal where you make, let's say 95 and the syndicators take care of everything else, but you're not going to do that. Because when you do that, you're going to say, I'm Pat Cooper, and they'll get up and they'll walk right out. I said, because the one thing you don't understand about radio people is they don't care if they lose. You want to negotiate with them, and you start playing hardball. They go, okay, we can't do it, and they'll just walk out.
They'll walk out of the room, and they don't give a fuck.
No.
They'll put a network feed on that station.
That's right.
Not give a good goddamn.
And if there's 37 other guys who can do what you do and do it better, because you're not a radio guy. The Midnight Radio Trucking Network pays stations to carry them. That's correct.
So Whereas a station like Art Bell, who at the time was one of the biggest guys around, Art was free.
He was riveting. He was riveting.
Total theater of the mind. Fantastic guy.
He played on our station.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was great. Hey, Sam, we were talking about this last week, and I know it's kind of been material that's been covered, but the difference between the comedians who opened for the big acts and the comedians who played comedy clubs. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I absolutely do.
There's that crossover. Mark was saying that, Robert Klein is, of course, one of the big crossover people. I would say Pat Cooper is kind of in that sort of
crossover from what to what, though?
From like playing the big acts, playing the lounges with the singer and all that,
right,
being the opener, to the comedy club. Where you're the guy now.
I don't think Pat Cooper ever became what we would call a headliner.
No.
He was always a supporting act.
Okay.
There were some comics. I mean, Robert Klein was a headliner. He crossed over and
that's correct.
Went on his own. But Pat Cooper, except for a show in Vegas, but he was never the show. You never saw Pat Cooper. It would be Pat Cooper, Lola Falana. You know what I mean? It would always be, he would always be on the underbill of the thing. He was never the top name on the bill.
And by the way,
but he was a big enough name that everybody knew who he was. People might have gone to the show because it was Pat Cooper.
But that was by choice, because the only time he ever showed any discretion was he knew he didn't have the temperament to do that. He didn't.
Right.
He was his own worst enemy. And so go ahead.
So you guys were in comedy at that time. What about the stylistic differences, though? Are you guys thinking, I'm going to open for this or I'm going to open for that? Or were you just more happy with, no, I'm headlining in Elyria, Ohio next week. They've got me for 3 days. And then I got 3 more days next week after that.
Mark,
I tell you what, here's how it went for me, Jason. I needed to make $30,000 a year.
Right.
And so I worked on my calendar. And once I got to $30,000, then I got picky. Okay. And then I started doing, all right, now that I've got my nut covered, I'm going to start doing the shows I want to do. So even to this day, I don't middle for people unless it's people I really want to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very rare that I'm going to, somebody calls me up and says, hey, can you open for so-and-so? And if it's somebody I like, damn straight I'm going to do it,
Does that also affect your choice of material or how you want to develop your material?
No, my material has grown with me. When I started, had no kids, wasn't married, that's my material. Got married, with family, a little bit of stuff about my parents, the in-laws, how we do things different when we're young as what our parents do. That's always been family type of. It was either my family when I was growing up, when I was starting. The differences between my family, my parents' family, as I got married. I got kids. Now it became more about that, and so it was my life, and finding things about it that were funny.
One rule I followed was, and this wasn't true for everybody, if you're opening for somebody, okay, and not for a comic, but for I opened for Juice Newton for 2 weeks. Okay.
All right.
Cleaner is better.
Yeah. Okay.
Cleaner is better. Okay. Because her audience is not looking for Kinnison's offspring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No. So cleaner is better. But when you're headlining, you can do what you want, because the people who book you know what you are. They know what you are. They know your material. And if you didn't tell them, they'll find out by word of mouth.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Everybody kind of knew everybody. Yeah.
The one time, and one of the reasons I don't like this guy was Jerry Elliott. Jerry was a comic out of Detroit.
Detroit. He was. Yes. He worked with us here. He started at the Castle with the rest of us. Yeah.
And so Tom Sobel was having me and him work with Louis Anderson. Am I right about this? Yeah. And Louis got sick. Okay. So Louis could not do the show. And Jerry told Tom there was no way I could headline. He just totally stabbed me in the back. No way I could headline. And Tom said, well, all right, you'll headline and Sam will middle. And I didn't know any of this till later. Tom told me. And so Jerry comes up to me And he says, how much time are you doing in the middle? And I said, I don't know. I figured 25, 30, no more than 30. He goes, well, why don't you do a little more? I said, I'll do whatever Tom tells me to do. If Tom tells me to do 28, I'll do 28. I was really good about that. I was really good about 28. Boom.
You weren't going to upstage your headliner.
Yeah, and you're not going to screw your chances of coming back.
Okay.
Yes.
You know,
nobody wants. If you're booking a show, right, Jason? You're booking a show and you're doing 90 minutes, and you're doing 90 minutes because you might be doing 2 or 3 that night, and you got to turn the crowds. Okay. So anytime
15, you have a 45, 15, 30, 45.
And so if you can't do that time when you're doing 15, how does he know you're going to do it when you're doing 45? So that it's very hard to get booked back if you're not following the time. And it's not about artistic choices. He doesn't like you. Bullshit. They're trying to turn the crowd. Let's
they got to make money. They got to make money.
But I thought it was great because we got to be as free artistically as we wanted to be. And we didn't try to interfere with their business.
The middle is the best seat because it's the rocking chair.
Yes, that too. That's right.
The middle that because the checks aren't dropping.
The checks aren't dropping, and they've already been warmed up.
Right. Yep.
And you don't have to hang around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Jerry Elliott says to me, "Why don't you do a little more?" Now remember, I didn't know what he had done yet.
Right.
So I said, "I'm going to do what Tom tells me to do, and I'm not going to do a minute more." And he goes, well, you could do. I said, Jerry, you're talking to a deaf guy now. I'm not going to do it. Okay. I'm not. So I said, why are you so insistent? He goes, well, I told him I could close. I go, well, can't you? And he goes, well, when I get to 30, I'm going to start asking people where they're from.
Oh.
And I said, well, how did you get to? And I'm talking like Kane in Kung Fu. I'm like, how did you find the way to do this? And he goes, well, I told Tom. I said, what did you tell Tom? Well, I told him I could headline. I said, but now I'm become Betty Davis. But you can't, Jerry. You can't. And he says, and he said, I said, but you don't have 45 minutes. He said, do you? I went, I got an hour. Nice. And he goes, oh, I guess. I said, but maybe somebody, and this is when it dawned on me. I said, maybe somebody convinced somebody I didn't have the time. I said, listen, I wish you all the luck in the world, but I may do 25. He goes, don't do that. I said, really? Sue me. So I swear to God, at 29:59. So where are you from? I mean, at 29:59, I timed it. I timed it because I'm obsessive about that shit. And I said, he wasn't kidding. And Tom said, Sam, I want to apologize to you. I fell for some bullshit and it won't happen again.
Did he put you back in the headlining spot?
No. Okay. No, he said, because he committed to it. And, Tom has this strange sense of, duty, which makes no fucking sense.
I like Tom. I like
Tom too. And he was too honest for his own good, but I would have dropped that guy like a habit.
Right.
Well, here's another thing. Here's another thing about that time too. You might have 45 minutes, but you got to be careful because if you're getting into like that last 10 minutes of your set and they're not digging it, you got to have some place to go. And I always tell
even for me, it was my car.
In our workshops, in the workshops, and in the dojos. I know Jason, Andy's been part of it. I don't know if you've ever been part of it, Jason. We always tell the young comics, the ones just starting out, I go, don't tell somebody you have 10 minutes until you have 20. And not 20 minutes of material that you've done on stage, 20 minutes that have consistently gotten laughs. Then tell the bookers. Then tell the bookers.
Money in the bank.
Then tell the bookers you got 10.
Remember Tony Hayes?
What's that? Tony Hayes,
remember Tony Hayes?
Yeah, I remember Tony.
All right, Tony had a solid opening.
Right.
He had a solid 20 minutes of opening. He had a solid 15 minutes ending. He just talked to the audience in the middle. It was like he was there, drop. But then when he ended very solidly high.
Very
so he
solid,
thought they had a great show.
Well, you see, that's sort of that thing that I'm trying to work on where you can, if you have to, you can pivot off something because you can tell it's not working. So you
But he
kind of
was
want to have
improvisation. I mean,
B
Tony was
material
doing
sort of
improvisation.
chambered and
That's
ready
what
to
he was
go.
doing.
You know, and one of the things I put it up on the messenger thing. That was Gary Shandling and
Jerry
what's
Seinfeld.
his name? Jerry Seinfeld.
I love that
And one of the
episode where they
things-
went to the comedy
one
store.
of the
That was
things,
great.
yes, that they said that the why I put it up was that one sentence. He says, you got to have an act. He goes, oh, you're going to improvise? Yeah, let me know how that works out for you.
Oh,
You
know what I
Yeah.
love about that is right after that, the line that Jerry says. Yeah, you're going to improvise. Yeah, 10 years from now, you'll be saying, and we have this in a loafer.
Yeah,
We
yes,
just got
exactly.
over.
Exactly. So I mean, it really does, because I run into folks all the time who say, oh, I'm just going to get up there and I'm just going to, it don't work like that.
You know what
You
Jerry
gotta
did?
have stuff.
I worked with Jerry in Philadelphia, and he doesn't remember this, and that's fine with me because he's worked with 8,000 middle acts.
Right.
And he said, do me a favor. When you're about to, because I was the middle, when you're about to go downstairs, we were at a hotel. When you're about to go downstairs, and which means you'll be on stage in another 10 minutes. Is that about right? I said, yeah. He said, knock on my door. Just let me know so I can time when I'm going down. I said, okay,
Right.
sure. So I did that, knock on his door. He said, it's open. I opened it. He is standing at the foot of his bed with sheets of paper with a word on it like taxi, income tax, dates.
No, I
And
get
he's
it.
putting them on the bed, arranging his act.
Yeah, bullet points. Yeah,
Yeah.
just getting it together.
It's like if it was a band, it'd be the gig list.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You know, it'd be
Yeah.
the set list. And he went,
And
hey,
right.
Sam, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just that's all I need. I said, no problem. You
Right.
know, and I said, do you need me to do this tomorrow? He said, no, I have a pretty sense. He's looking at his watch. He goes, no, I have a sense of the time now. That's good. But thank you so much.
Right.
You know,
There you
now a
go.
lot of people think he's a cold guy, you know, and I always
Well-
tell them, I go, he's not your friend.
Yeah.
He's not
He's there
your
to do a
friend.
job.
You know, you work with him. Okay.
Right.
You know, the opposite of this is the guy who wants to hang out with you, and you're like, no.
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 So,
No.
so if I have a choice, I'd rather be with the guy who he wasn't unfriendly, he wasn't mean, he wasn't shitty.
Right.
But you know, I mean, I'm the 33,000th comic he's worked with.
Right.
He
Right.
also said something. I think I told you guys this, that I thought he's so smart. You remember they used to have that HBO comics contest thing?
Yeah.
Comic laugh off thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So he said that every guy who wins that always makes the mistake of thinking, well, now my career's set.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm set. He said, no, you won a contest tonight. What are you doing Monday?
Mhm.
Right. The only time I can think of is if you were on the couch with Carson.
Oh,
You know, first time around, Carson called you over to the couch. Again, that doesn't exist anymore.
well,
There's nothing that does that anymore.
and by the way, for all of you who are really young, many years ago, there was a reporter for the New York Daily News named Ed Sullivan. And Ed
Yeah.
Sullivan had a TV show.
Yes,
Now,
he did.
David Brenner told me this story. For those of you who don't know, David Brenner was a comedian who won an Oscar for a documentary film he made. People
Really?
don't know that. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, an Oscar is an award given out for movies. And for those of you who don't know,
Oscar is
movies
the
are the
celebration of the Jewish community. There
yes,
we go.
yes. And for those of you who don't know, movies are something you can't see on your iPad.
Welcome
So-
to Condescension. Tonight our host is Sam Greenfield.
Very nice.
Condescension? Why, that would mean I'm talking down to you. Anyway.
Back in the old days, there were guys who made their who just basically made their whole career just to get that 5 minutes on
on
Carson.
Well, listen.
They wouldn't go to a club again.
David Brent, let me take that a step further. David Brenner
Yeah.
told me that he was a new comic, just, you know, I mean, he wasn't new, but he was new.
right.
And he got a Sullivan spot. And he
Nice.
killed. And his
Nice.
now get this, that's on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
His agent called him on Monday afternoon. He was booked for the next 6 months.
Oh wow!
But there's
Okay.
nothing like that these
There was
days.
nothing as great as big an influence as Carson was, and I say this with respect to Carson, because he was one of the few people who did what he did for a living, who actually was very supportive of comics. He would
Yes, he
actually
was.
stick his head in the green room and go, "Hey, knock him dead tonight," you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Sullivan, if you got on that show and you killed, it did make your career.
Yeah.
You know, there's no look there. And by the same token,
Yeah, is there any universe without Ed Sullivan where Senior Wences does anything?
Senior Wences, that fucking mouse had an agent.
Yes.
The fist had an agent.
By the way, I have
the best use of that. It was
I have the agent's number if you want to get a hold of the fist.
the best use of Senior Wences was on the in-laws.
I mean, Sam was talking about being the middle guy in a hotel and knocking on a door that's open, and I'm like, this is bringing back very different memories for me.
Yeah, the whole idea of come in, it's open had a whole new meaning.
Yeah, usually they don't even talk. They don't even want you to turn the light on. But
gee, Mister, what's open?
Everything. Yeah, I mean, I almost had to step off camera for just a moment to sort of like,
reflect.
I'm feeling rather flush at the moment. If you'll, gentlemen, will forgive me for.
I was explaining to somebody. Look, I'm not going to apologize for when I was born, but I got to tell you, I don't know if I could make it today because I grew up in a world where there were 800 gigs, 800 shows, 800 spots, in a world where there were only about 1,600 comics.
Yes.
And so it was like, if you weren't working, half the other group wasn't working. But then it just kind of rotated. So, you didn't need to work every night to make a living back then.
Well, you know what Barbara says to me? She goes, honey, tell me about the boom.
Well, I hear Elaine
I'll tell you what the boom was like.
being...
My first paid gig was in Minnesota when Sheila Kay called me and said, they got an opening next week. Call them up. And then after I did that, now I had a feather in my cap. Did Mickey Finn's in Minneapolis? Remember that one, Andy? Mickey Finn's.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that, and then
I worked the Hanson gigs. So
okay, I worked for the Hansons too. But anyway, the next week, Tony Hayes hears about that Sheila did this for me in Minneapolis, and he's down at Wiley's. He goes, "I hate my middle. Can you get down here? I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if I can." If I could see if this guy paid off and you can middle for me, I'll be there, So I drove down and that's how I started.
I never realized this had so much to do.
The two guys that did the best for me were, and Dave Coulier taught me this trick, and I worked it with Dave Coulier
guy.
And Bob Saget. Both those guys. Saget, Detroit was like his second home. People don't know this,
and he was murdered, unfortunately. That's such a sad thing.
What?
Sorry. Yeah, his autopsy report came back and said, well, it kind of looks like someone hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat.
No shit.
Dead serious. Look it up, fellas. I ain't making that one up. It looks like he didn't do a Bill Holden. Someone helped him out a little bit, but
let me get back.
Finish the story.
Let me get back to my Dave Coulier. These guys were great because what they did was they would say, every time they came to Detroit, they would let me know where they were going to be in the next few weeks, and then they would call me and tell me when they were going to be getting paid at the club. So I would call the club like at 1:00 in the morning on Saturday, at the end of the week or Sunday, whatever the day was, the closing day. And I would call and ask for them. They go, Mark Sweetman's calling for you. Oh, Mark. And then they would come to the phone, and the guy that's booking the place, he goes, here. And then they would go, oh, you got to work here. You could probably start off as an opener or a middle, but here's whoever. Here's Chris DePetta. Boom. Here's whoever there. Here's John Cochran. They would always introduce me. Get an introduction by those
John
guys.
Cochran. You want
Remember
to be
John
paid in
Cochran?
green or white?
That's the guy. That is the guy. His clubs were Columbus and Tampa.
And Tampa.
That's gotta tell you right there.
By the way,
so again, stupid question: is the mob out of the business at this point in time?
Yes.
Is it basically?
Yes, the mob in Detroit, it was small time mobsters, and they were pornographers, you didn't know. You didn't know Detroit had a pornography industry until you got it.
Oh, I knew.
Oh, did you know?
I know.
Yeah, because I'll never forget. My wife she's not even my wife yet. Susan was my girlfriend, And she was, we were both at Wayne State, and I'm studying film. She's studying mass media, which meant she was getting into this newfangled thing called video. You know, here I've got acetate, and I got acetate, and I'm clipping film and putting it back together.
I'm a movie professional.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing real media. I got actual acetate here, you know. But anyway, so she goes,
put that cigarette out.
And so Seymour Schwartz, Andy, do you remember Seymour Schwartz, or was it he before you got in?
No, how can you forget that name?
I think I met him once.
Seymour Schwartz. He got upset with me because I called him C less. But anyway, Seymour Schwartz.
You can't have a more Jewish name than Seymour Schwartz. Jesus.
And his wife's name, get this, ready, Sam? Hattie.
Oh my
Seymour
God!
And Hattie Schwartz. And I swear to God,
that's like in Oneonta. The mayor's name was Jim Lettuce, and his wife's name was Hedda.
I know. So to the people that don't think Detroit is that Jewish, we had a Seymour and Hattie Schwartz that owned a comedy club. But anyway, he got into it because he owned strip joints and bookstores, you know, adult bookstores and Nickelodeons, whatever. I call them Nickelodeons, but you know the
Nickelodeon.
That's because you're old enough to remember Nickelodeon.
You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. You don't go into the theater. You go into a booth type and whatever.
But now it's a whole new green slime. I mean, so you know.
So anyway, I first learned about watching your step. I mean, yeah.
So he
about a
finds out
sticky
my wife
situation.
is editing. So he finds out my wife is editing videos. She goes, "What do you do?" She goes, well, I edit videos," and he goes, "Porn?" And she goes, "No."
And she goes, "No, I'm an understudy."
Not yet.
No, I'm just a buffer. There we go.
I used to, remember when Seymour Schwartz asked you if you edited porn videos?
I wasn't there, but he asked you if I.
No, that was it. That was it. All right, Sue just corrected. I'm glad Susan's here. She corrected me. He didn't ask her. He asked me if she wanted
better.
If she wanted to edit porn. And then, as I recall, this didn't happen at the time, but as it became part of my act, and as I told the story, I would say, "Yeah, I told him you don't want my wife editing your videos because if they're porn, she'll be editing in the wedding scene to make sure that they're married before they have sex."
Yeah. Oh, you want to know if my wife edits porn? Yeah. Let me not ask her.
Well, gentlemen, I have to say,
Seymour Schwartz was famous for taking over Ridley's rooms whenever Ridley moved on to another location. Ridley's in his.
So when did he get a permanent place?
The place he's in right now,
or any place that was permanent. You know that wasn't just him setting up a room.
The place he's at right now, he just signed a 6-year lease, I think, a couple of years ago. So he's going to be there at least 4 more years. And neither of his kids, both his kids are in Hollywood and successful, so they're not going to be the business. So when he retires,
it's
who knows?
Done.
Yeah. But anyway, and he's 73, so I don't know how many more years he's got going on.
Well, he better do something before he. Oh, wait a minute.
No, he does plenty of
son of a bitch.
That guy's so loaded. He has a closed circuit hookup to this club in his with a connection to his house on Lake Michigan. He's got like this beach house on beach mansion on Lake Michigan.
The camera's in the third stall. Oh, a whole different camera. Never mind.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask all you guys a question.
I've been to prison. I'm not shy. Whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
But if you're going to be shy,
you weren't
shy
before you went to prison, so don't worry about that.
Prison would be the place to be shy. If you actually, but let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you could live anywhere in the region where you live now, price is no object, where would you live?
Ann Arbor, Michigan. I am such a homeboy.
And you, Mark?
I love Ann Arbor, but it's very exciting now. I think if money was no object, I would be at the top of the Book Cadillac Hotel.
Yeah, the new one, the refurbished.
The top 6 stories of the Book Cadillac is one of the most exclusive addresses.
And Andy?
I would probably be in Traverse City.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah, nice.
If I had a boat, that's probably where I'd be.
Well, what about you, Sam? You're in NYC. You know,
if I could live anywhere here,
yeah.
I really love where I live. I really do. I love the place I live.
Not the top of the Chrysler building, or
no. You know why? Because if a fire breaks out, you're fucked. No.
Well, yeah,
there'll be
that
no.
King Kong.
How long have you
come
lived
back.
there? How long have you lived in that apartment, Sam?
19 years.
Wow.
It's the longest I've ever lived anywhere.
Is it rent controlled?
No, we own it.
Well, you know,
No, it's a co-op.
Oh my
You guys
God! I
all
can't
remember
imagine.
All in the Family, right?
In 19 years, that place has probably appreciated tremendously.
Double.
Guys, you guys all know All in the Family. They used to have that intro. Was that Queens?
Yes.
It would look kind of, I mean, it looks like a suburb. It looks.
No, it's Queens. And Queens is a bedroom borough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that the city of New York, or is it?
It's the city of New York, but the borough is Queens. If somebody says New York City to you, they're thinking Manhattan.
Okay.
Because Queens is a bedroom borough. In other words, that's where people. There's no there's no 80-story buildings.
No, yeah,
there's
it's a bunch of 2-story houses and
right.
Yeah.
To give you guys an example locally, let's say, for example, the state legislature decided to make Detroit, the metropolitan area, one city, and they took the counties of Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, Livingston, and Washtenaw, and made each of those counties boroughs. That's basically what happened in New York.
In New York, all right.
So where I live now, I know I know the guy who owns the Chinese restaurant. I know the guy who we have these.
What's the name of the Chinese restaurant? What's the name of the Chinese restaurant near you?
Walong.
Okay.
We have 3 Saudi guys who own a mom and pop store, Cozies. We know the dry cleaner and his son. After 19 years, I'd have to get used to other people. The only thing I would do differently is I would go from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. And for Barbara, I would move up a couple of stories. She doesn't like being on the 2nd floor. I love it.
Right.
I fucking love it. But no, she would like a little bit of a view because we're right off the East River. So there's, in fact, we saw the World Trade Center go down.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so
I can't imagine that.
Well,
seeing that live.
It's funny when it happened. The next day, there was a playground across the street from us. The next day, every inch of that playground was cop cars from all over the state.
Yeah,
all over the state. And Cassie was just, how old was Cassie? Like a year and a half?
Yeah, she had to be, because she's 23 now. That was
24. And so we're pushing her carriage. And, a guy from the National Guard said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Right down here." She said, "Okay, don't go too much further down." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because it's poisonous."
Yeah, the dust.
And I said, "Well, how do you know I have anything to live for?" I said, "Well, because I got a kid. She'll be fine."
Yeah, she'll be. She's a tough girl. Look at her. She's a tough girl.
But everything about my daughter can be encapsulated in this. Honey, can you help me? Give me the iPad. Give me the iPad.
She did get you online pretty quickly.
In 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And see, it wasn't that, because she's sweet in that way. But the thing that killed me was that after she did it, she went.
We need to send her a bouquet of flowers.
You didn't hear this, but afterwards she says, "I'm going to be doing this forever," and I said, "Yes."
Yes. Once she knows what the trap is. She's fallen into it.
But her Father's Day card was, "Thank you for cooking endless numbers of chicken thighs. I'm glad you're my papa."
Oh, nice.
There you go. Everyone knows chicken thighs are the best, but
that's right. She goes, "Do you cook anything else?" I said, "Well, there's chili." She goes, "And?" I go, "Well, there's fish, but I can't cook fish because your mother hates the smell of fish." I go, "Well, your mother's a communist."
Hey, stick around, fellas. We come to the end of our hour. We could talk a little bit after we go off the live cast here, but want to tell everybody else that's joined us, or if you're not viewing us live and watching us on YouTube later in the week, we do this every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, all the other things that the YouTubers tell you to do. And we'll be back here next Monday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you to Jason, Andy, and Sam.
And if you're under 30 and you didn't like what we were talking about, get a magazine. That's right, get a life.
Yeah, to find a magazine, get one. Okay, there we go.
I'll pick up.
my
you guys
at
stay tight. We'll be talking.